Our deep divers, welcome back for another deep dive. This time we're headed to beautiful Surrey, BC. We're going to be exploring Laneway homes and all the exciting changes happening there.
Yeah, it's really interesting to see how Surrey is kind of embracing this whole idea of laneway homes. They've really gone beyond, that traditional idea of just like a granny flat in the backyard.
Right, and we've got a whole stage of Surrey's documents here that we're going to be digging into. So think of this as your guide to building a Laneway home in Surrey. Whether you're dreaming of creating that space for family or, maybe looking at it as an investment, because let's face it, the housing market in the Low Mainland, it's
It's a tough one, yeah.
competitive, to say the least.
Absolutely.
So if you're thinking of adding a laneway home, these changes in Surrey could be a real game changer.
For sure. And, we're talking about a whole new landscape of options, everything from, duplexes to houseplexes. It's not just, a random shift either. Like Surrey, really, they made some major updates on July 8th, 2024 to kind of align with new provincial rules around multi-unit housing.
So they're really getting on board with this push for more diverse and affordable housing options.
Absolutely. And they're actually using the term now, small-scale multi-unit housing, or SSMUH for short. And that's kind of like this umbrella term that covers everything from, secondary suites within your existing home to detached units like those garden suites and coach houses that we've talked about before.
Okay, and I'm assuming duplexes and houseplexes fall under that as well.
Absolutely. So we're talking, yeah, all sorts of things.
I'm already starting to see the potential here. It's like you can really customize your property to fit your needs.
Exactly. You got it. But before you go, picturing that dream lane-away home in your backyard, there's that crucial first step, and that's figuring out what's even allowed on your property.
Zoning.
Exactly, zoning. Now, I know zoning can be a bit of a.
It's where my eyes start to glaze over.
Yeah, it's not the most exciting topic, but Surrey's actually made it really user-friendly. They have this fantastic online tool called the SSMUH Zoning Lookup Tool. And all you do is you pop in your address, and it tells you exactly what you can build. No need to, wade through pages and pages of legal jargon.
That's a relief.
Right.
So let's say I've checked the tool. I'm feeling good. Now, you mentioned duplexes and houseplexes before. For those of us who are maybe a little bit more visually inclined, can you paint us a picture of what these different housing types actually look like?
Sure. So a duplex is basically a building that has two separate living units. So picture like a charming side-by-side setup, or even a stack design where you have one on top of the other.
Okay, so two families, two separate spaces, all under one roof. What about houseplexes?
So houseplexes take it up a notch. A triplex would have 3 units, and they often kind of resemble row housing or even like a large single-family home that's been cleverly divided up. And a fourplex, well, you guessed it, bumps it up to 4 units.
Okay, so we're not just talking about adding a granny flat anymore. This is like creating your own little mini neighborhood right on your property.
Exactly. And the cool thing is you can actually mix and match these different types on a single lot.
Wait, really? So I could have a duplex at the front and then a coach house in the back. This is starting to sound like a choose-your-own adventure for homeowners in Surrey.
There are definitely some limits. The exact combinations that you can have depend on, the specific zone that your property's in and the size of your lot. That's why that zoning lookup tool is so important.
Right.
But
But
yeah, the possibilities are pretty exciting. And speaking of possibilities, there's a unique kind of twist here for properties that are near frequent bus stops.
ooh, tell me more. This is where it gets really interesting.
So if you're within 400 meters of a bus stop that has, service every 15 minutes or better, you might be in for a treat because those lots could potentially fit up to 6 units regardless of what the normal zoning would allow.
Wow. So even if you have a smaller lot, you could still create multiple units if you're in a transit-friendly area.
It's a great way to, encourage density and encourage people to use transit.
Absolutely. And it's good news for anyone who relies on public transit or, wants to maybe appeal to tenants who do.
For sure. And Surrey actually has this really cool online map that shows you exactly which areas qualify for the bonus units near bus stops.
Oh, very cool.
Yeah, so definitely worth checking that out.
So we've talked about the types of laneway home, the zoning basics. Now let's get into the why. Let's talk about why people are actually building these things. And I think there are a couple of key reasons, right? They might want to create a space for family, or they might see it as as an investment opportunity.
Yeah, you hit the nail on the head. Those are the two big drivers, and each one comes with, its own set of considerations.
Let's start with family. Let's say I've got aging parents who, they want to maintain their independence, but they need maybe a bit more support. Or I've got grown kids, trying to navigate this crazy housing market. A laneway home seems like the perfect solution.
It can be a fantastic way to keep loved one close while still giving everyone, their own space and that sense of privacy. You're there if they need you, but everyone has their own little domain.
So would you recommend like a garden suite for that kind of situation, or maybe a secondary suite within the main house?
It really depends. It boils down to your family's specific needs. A garden suite offers that complete separation, which can be great for privacy, whereas a secondary suite might be, easier to access if mobility is a concern. So it's all about finding that best fit for your family dynamic and the layout of your property.
Okay, now let's flip the coin and let's talk about this from an investment perspective. My goal is to generate some rental income. How do these new zoning rules kind of change the game for potential landlords?
Well, I mean, they basically blow the game wide open. You're no longer limited to just, one basement suite. With the right zoning and the right lot size, you could potentially have multiple rental units, which obviously, significantly boosts your income potential.
Sounds tempting, but I imagine there's a lot more to it than just collecting rent checks.
Oh, absolutely. You need to be strategic. Understanding the local rental market is key. What type of units are in demand? What rents can you realistically charge? And don't forget about all those ongoing costs. Property taxes, maintenance. It's a business, so you need to treat it like one.
So it's not just a passive income stream. This is something that requires, careful planning and management.
Absolutely. But with the right approach, it can be a fantastic way to build wealth and, contribute to creating much needed housing options in the city.
All right, so let's say I'm ready to take the plunge, whether I'm building for family or I'm building this as an investment. What are some absolute must-knows before I even think about, breaking ground?
All right, well, here's where we get down to the brass tacks. First and foremost, permits. Permits. Building permits are non-negotiable for any SSMUH project.
Yeah, I've heard some horror stories about people trying to skip that step. What's the worst that could happen?
Oh, it can get messy. Unpermitted construction can lead to, legal battles, fines, even orders to demolish the structure. And it can be a nightmare if you ever decide to sell your property down the line.
So these permits are there to protect everyone involved, the homeowners in the city.
Exactly. They ensure that everything is built to code, which is, crucial for safety and just peace of mind.
What else should be on my radar?
Okay, so a key one here is you're generally only allowed one secondary suite in a house where the owner lives.
So I can't just turn my entire house into a mini apartment complex and live somewhere else.
Not quite. The idea is to allow for additional housing while still, preserving that character of single-family neighborhoods. So that means the owner needs to be present.
Okay, makes sense. What else?
Servicing capacity is another one that's often overlooked. Just because the zoning allows for more units doesn't mean your lot can handle the increased demand for things like water and sewer and drainage.
That's not something I would have thought of.
It's easy to get caught up in the excitement of building, but those practical considerations are essential.
So it's best to get those things checked out early on. Avoid any nasty surprises. Forewarned is forearmed, right?
Exactly. And then finally, there are a couple of potential legal snags that you just want to be aware of. First off, restrictive covenants. These are legal agreements that might already be in place that restrict what you can build on your property, even with the new zoning.
That's frustrating. It seems like these covenants could really limit what people can do, even if the city's trying to open up more housing options.
Yeah, unfortunately they can. So it's really crucial to do your due diligence and check for any of those pre-existing restrictions before you get too far into the planning process.
Okay, and any other legal things I should be thinking about?
Yeah, the last one is development permit areas or DPAs. These are specific areas in the city that might have, additional requirements related to things like design or environmental factors.
So it's not a complete free-for-all just because the city's, changed its zoning.
Exactly. It's about finding that balance, between encouraging development and preserving what makes Surrey unique.
Speaking of finding the right balance, if anyone out there is feeling inspired to kind of explore this world of laneway homes in Surrey, we know a fantastic builder in the area,
Oh, yeah.
Corvell Homes.
They specialize in laneway homes and all these multi-unit options that we've been talking about. They've got a great reputation for quality and expertise.
You can check them out at corvellhomes.com, and if you reach out, be sure to mention the deep dive and ask for Gordy.
Ask for Gordy.
He's fantastic to work with.
He's the man.
All right, well, we've covered a lot of ground here, but we're just getting started.
Just scratching the surface.
Welcome back to the deep dive.
We've been digging into, the nuts and bolts of laneway homes in Surrey, BC, covering everything from zoning to permits and all that fun stuff.
Yeah, really getting into the technical side of things. But now I kind of want to shift gears a bit and talk about the bigger picture,
Yeah.
because it's not just about building codes and regulations, right?
No, absolutely not. It's much bigger than that.
It's about how these homes, how they actually impact our communities and the way we live.
Exactly.
So let's start with affordability. For example, one of Surrey's big goals with these zoning changes is to create more affordable housing options. And let's face it, that's a huge issue in the Lower Mainland these days.
Oh, yeah. It's massive. It's on everyone's minds.
Huge. It feels like everyone's talking about the housing crunch these days, right? bidding wars, sky-high prices.
It's a tough market out there.
It's tough out there for sure. So how can Laneway Homes actually help with affordability?
Well, one way is by simply, increasing the supply of housing. We talked about all the different options and different ways to add units. So
Right, right,
more homes on the market means less competition, at least in theory.
right, yeah.
And laneway homes often provide smaller, more compact living spaces.
Which could be a more attainable kind of entry point for first-time home buyers or maybe people looking to downsize.
Exactly. They don't need that big house, that big mortgage payment. It's all about having choices, right?
Right, exactly. Not everyone needs that big house.
And it appeals to so many different demographics, laneway homes, individuals, couples, small family.
Multi-generational family?
Absolutely.
Speaking of multi-generational families, I'm curious about the social impact of laneway homes. I mean, could they actually strengthen neighborhood connections, do you think?
I think they can, yeah. When you have more people living closer together, there are naturally more opportunities for those interactions, those little everyday moments that build a sense of community.
Those chance encounters, right? Those things that can lead to friendships and just that feeling of belonging.
Exactly. And just looking out for each other,
Right.
building that sense of community.
But I could also see potential for conflict as well. What if a laneway home blocks someone's view or creates too much noise or something like that?
Yeah, that's a fair point. These are valid concerns. And that's why it's so important to have those clear guidelines in place, right?
Right.
To have those regulations, have that process.
It's about finding that sweet spot
Exactly.
where laneway homes can kind of enhance the neighborhood without negatively impacting existing residents.
And when it's done right, it can really contribute to a more diverse and inclusive community.
Yeah. I'm picturing like seniors being able to stay in their homes longer, aging in place but having family members close by in a laneway home.
Absolutely.
Or young families finally being able to afford to live in that neighborhood that they want by choosing a smaller, more affordable option.
And not having to move away from their community and support system.
Yeah. It's really creating a neighborhood that kind of reflects the true diversity of our society, right?
Yeah.
And speaking of a diverse and vibrant community, I think we also have to talk about the environmental benefits of laneway homes as well.
Oh, huge. Sustainability is a huge factor these days. And laneway homes, they really tick a lot of those boxes.
Yeah. I mean, they have a smaller footprint than traditional homes.
Right. Less land consumption.
Less land is consumed. Fewer resources are used during construction.
And you can really go all out with the energy efficiency, too. Solar panels, green roofs.
Yeah, exactly. And because they're often in established neighborhoods, people have easier access to public transit, walking, biking.
Absolutely. Promotes healthier lifestyles as well. It's great.
It's about creating a more sustainable, more livable city overall,
Yeah.
where we're reducing our carbon footprint,
Yeah.
promoting those healthier lifestyles.
Absolutely.
So laneway homes, they're not just about bricks and mortar. They're about creating a better future for our communities.
A future that's affordable, more connected, more diverse, environmentally sustainable. It's a win-win-win.
It's a pretty inspiring vision, but I'm sure there are challenges along the way, right? I mean, just thinking about navigating all that zoning stuff, finding the right builder, dealing with construction costs, it's a lot.
It can be daunting, yeah.
It's not always a walk in the park.
But luckily, Surrey offers a ton of support. They have tons of resources.
Oh, okay.
They've got online resources, workshops, and even like a dedicated team of experts to help homeowners navigate this whole process.
So you're not just left to figure it out on your own.
Absolutely not. They really want people to build these things.
And speaking of support, we'd be remiss if we didn't mention our friends over at Corval Homes again. They're true experts in laneway homes.
They really are.
They've got all the expertise to make it happen.
Absolutely.
And remember, when you visit CorvalHomes.com, be sure to mention the deep dive and ask for Gordy.
Ask for Gordy.
He's the man. All right, well, we've covered a lot of ground in this episode, but there's one final piece I want to touch on before we move on.
Oh, okay. What's that?
We've talked about the what and the why of laneway homes in Surrey.
Yeah.
But now let's talk about the who. Who are these people choosing to build and live in these homes?
That's a great point. And it is a diverse bunch.
I'm picturing a real mix of people, each with their own unique stories and motivations.
You got it. We see young families who are just like we talked about. They're drawn to that affordability.
They might not be able to afford a detached house in the neighborhood they want,
Yeah,
but a laneway home makes it possible.
exactly. Makes that dream a reality. And we're also seeing, empty nesters like we talked about before. They're downsizing. They're looking for something smaller.
Maybe they want to free up some equity or just live in a way that better suits their needs now.
Exactly. And let's not forget about those multi-generational families. They're finding innovative ways to live together.
With a laneway home providing that extra space, privacy,
Exactly. You're still together, but you have your space, your own little area.
Yeah, that independence. And then there are the investors, of course, too. They see the potential in laneway homes to generate income.
Yeah, and contribute to the housing supply, right? It's not just about the money, it's helping out too.
Exactly. So it's a fascinating mix of people,
It is, yeah.
each with their own, like I said, unique motivations and circumstances.
But they're united by this willingness to do something different, to explore a different way of living, something more adaptable, more sustainable, more connected.
And that's what I find so inspiring about this whole laneway home movement.
Yeah,
It's not just about building houses. It's about building a better future for everyone.
I love that. It's a vision worth striving for.
Welcome back to the Deep Dive.
It's been a really interesting journey so far, hasn't it?
Yeah, exploring the ins and outs of laneway homes in Surrey.
Mm-hmm.
We've covered a lot, haven't we?
We have.
From the nitty-gritty of zoning, all those regulations, to the broader, social and environmental impacts.
Yeah, for sure.
But I think it's really important for us to remember that, this isn't just some, abstract urban planning concept that we're talking about.
It's real life.
This is about real people, making real decisions
Exactly.
about how they want to live and how they want their communities to evolve.
Mm-hmm. How they want them to look, how they want them to feel.
Yeah, and we've talked a lot about the why, haven't we?
Yeah.
The why behind laneway home.
The benefits.
Yeah, all the potential benefits they offer.
Yep.
But now I want to shift gears just a little bit and talk about the who.
Okay.
Who are these people who are actually choosing to build and live in these homes?
Yeah, that's a great question. And the answer is, well, it's pretty diverse, actually.
Yeah.
Like we've been saying, we see young families who are really drawn to that affordability and that sense of community that comes with laneway homes.
Yeah, they might not be able to afford a detached home in the neighborhood they want.
Right.
But a laneway home makes it possible.
Exactly. It makes that dream a reality.
It does.
And we're also seeing empty nesters, like we've talked about,
Yeah.
downsizing, looking for something smaller, more manageable.
Yeah, maybe they want to free up some equity or just, live in a way that suits their lifestyle a little bit better.
Exactly. And we see multi-generational families, too.
Yeah.
Choosing to kind of live together in these innovative ways.
Right. With that laneway home, giving that extra space and privacy.
Yeah, you're still together as a family, but everyone has their own space.
Yeah, exactly. That independence.
That little bit of breathing room.
And then we've got the investors, of course, who see the potential for, generating rental income with laneway homes.
Right. And they're helping to contribute to that housing supply, which is so important.
Absolutely. So it's a real mix of people, isn't it?
Yeah, it really is. It's a real cross-section.
With all these different motivations and circumstances.
But the thing that brings them all together is that willingness to embrace something different, right? To explore a new way of living, to be more adaptable and sustainable.
Yeah, to be more connected to their community.
Exactly. And that's what I find so inspiring about this whole laneway home movement, you know? It's not just about houses, it's about a better future for everyone.
It really is.
It's a vision worth striving for, wouldn't you say?
Absolutely. So as we wrap up this deep dive into laneway homes in Surrey, I want to leave you with a final thought.
Okay.
Imagine the possibilities if we all embraced this spirit of innovation and collaboration.
What if we all challenge that status quo just a little bit?
Yeah, what if every homeowner, who had the space and the means, considered adding a laneway home to their property?
How would that transform things? How would that transform our neighborhoods and our cities and our lives?
It's a big question, isn't it?
It is.
But it's one worth pondering.
Absolutely it is.
It's about thinking beyond just our own needs and considering the collective good.
Thinking about the future.
Yeah, creating a future where, everyone has a place to call home.
A place where they feel safe and welcome.
Where they feel supported and, empowered to thrive.
And who knows, maybe laneway homes are just the start, right? Maybe they're the catalyst for even more creative solutions in the years to come.
Yeah.
You can only hope.
That's a great point. Well, thanks for joining us on this deep dive.
Yeah, thank you.
We encourage you to keep exploring the possibilities of laneway homes in Surrey and beyond.
And, remember all those resources we've mentioned. Those are available on our website.
And as always, we're here to answer any questions you might have.
Don't hesitate to reach out.
Until next time, keep diving deep and keep exploring the world around you.
Take care, everyone.